Yo, welcome to the show. I'm Gunnar Olson here with Thrifty Traveler executive editor Kyle Potter. But today we have a very special guest. He's a travel enthusiast, a Delta loyalist, and an MSP-based super traveler. He's in his 20th year hosting a daily radio show for My Talk 107.1 Twin Cities, and he just finished his 10th year hosting the Jason Show, which you can see live every day on Fox 9 here in the Twin Cities and on Fox stations all over the country. It's friend of Thrifty Traveler, Jason Matheson. Jason, how you doing?
I prefer to say number one fan of Thrifty Traveler. A lot of people can claim that. I think I am the number one fan. So,
well, yeah. I think it depends on how you measure number one. If it's first, it's certainly Karen Komorowski.
Okay, very true. You're right about that. Okay, I'll take one to five, maybe one.
I think we can give you that.
Yeah.
Well, either way, we're so excited to have you here.
Thrilled to be here.
You're an obvious guest for this show, and I think you're an obvious person to answer this question for us, because I need to find something out at the beginning of the show here from both of you. So just a few days after announcing that everyone was allowed to keep their shoes on through the security screening process, the Department of Homeland Security teased that they want to make changes to the limits on liquids and gels next. So things seem to be getting better, I guess, at security for most travelers. But what I want to find out is, what's the next thing that needs a change in the airport experience? What else is due for a facelift between the curb and the gate?
This is a broad answer, but yet specific. And that is whether you're dealing with Clear or any system at any airport. The repetitive nature of some of the things we do, like if we show an ID once, why do I have to keep showing it within 4 steps? If I'm showing Vicky here and I go up and there's Rob, why can't Vicky tell Rob that I just gave him my ID? Like Clear drives me nuts because, and they're fixing it at some airports, but what's the purpose of Clear if I have to, if I show it to Fernando, a Clear representative, and then Fernando has to walk me up and then I have to re-show my ID to the TSA guy? What's the point? So streamline how many times we have to whip out the boarding pass. I know that seems broad, but there seems to be too many repetitive steps in the system.
The point is to get you to pay $209 a year. I hate to break it to you, Jason.
I know. Thank you, Kyle. So early in the podcast to break bad news to me. I get it.
That's what we do here.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think especially when, you go to like the really nice fancy airports in Asia and the Middle East, they have kind of streamlined a lot of that, where you go through and it's just like one time, here's my passport, here's who I am. And they're like, we know who you are. We have tabs on you through the rest of the experience. But here it's like, is this a ID day? Is this a full boarding pass ID day? Do I need my passport? Like, what do they need from me this morning? What's yours, Kyle?
That is a really good one. Mine, absent this news that, DHS is going to try to do away with the liquid limits, I had made what I considered a modest proposal, which was keep the 3.4 ounce limit in place, because we all know if you bring 3.5 ounces of a liquid, you're probably a terrorist. And I get that. That's a given.
Alone 3.8.
Right. Oh, gosh. But let people bring bigger bottles of sunscreen, because that is literally a life-saving liquid. So if they do away with all of it, great, we're good. Past that, though, and this goes beyond airport lounges, if you are in an airport or an airplane and you are listening to something on speaker, be it your laptop or your phone, or God forbid, taking a FaceTime call, you should be put on the no-fly list.
Kyle, I already really liked you. I have a t-shirt being made right now, and it's no joke, from TeePublic that says, nobody wants to hear your FaceTime. It is the bait. It is one of my biggest pet peeves of human beings. I don't want to hear your speakerphone. But yes. Oh, gosh, that's a good one.
I mean, anywhere. But
anywhere.
Emotions are so heightened in airports and on airplanes. And just like that sensation of hearing somebody's conversation or YouTube video.
Noise, the tinniness of the fate. No.
It's like a dog whistle that brings out the worst in all of us.
Man, you were preaching to the choir with the sunscreen thing, but then you even outdid yourself with the second one. That was those are both amazing.
Gunnar and all his fellow Ginger listeners are just pumping their fist in their car right now.
I've been demanding it for years. It's offensive that I have to go buy sunscreen wherever I go. Mine was going to be something that they actually have started already, which is the security lanes for families, for traveling families.
Yeah.
As a brand new father, that is very interesting to me. And also it's something I've thought of forever. It's like, if we get the families and the kids out of the lines. It's better for everyone. Less stress for the families, way faster for everybody else. And the fact that they're piloting it at Orlando is just perfect. Like,
Or
why not?
it's going to be a
Or
nightmare.
it's gonna be a nightmare. Yeah, I don't want to be the first person through that line.
No.
But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But those are all great answers. Thanks, guys. So today on the show, we're talking to Jason about all things travel, from cruises to Delta loyalty and his travel journey. All that and more. Welcome back to the Thrifty Traveler Podcast. All right, let's jump into something hot and something cold, where we look at the good and the bad news out there for travelers from the past week. And we'll start, as always, with something hot. Okay, so the new Delta One lounges have opened at the coastal hubs of JFK and now LAX. And our very own Peter Thornton got a glimpse inside the LAX lounge this week and chronicled the experience with a very thorough review of the space on our website. We'll link to that review for sure, and we'll show you some photos here if you're watching us on YouTube. But just to remind travelers, these are not the kind of credit card Delta Sky Clubs where you can kind of gain access through one of those cards. These are lounges only for Delta One flyers or travelers flying in the premium cabin of Delta's partners like Air France or KLM or others. So they're a little bit more exclusive. We have heard of some lines already at JFK, though. And
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. So not exclusive enough, I guess. But they're most known for the private check-in and the private security, which I think people are really excited about. And that's what makes them kind of totally unique for U.S. lounges. But some of the things that Peter found at this lounge, the sit-down made-to-order dining, an outdoor patio with a self-serve bubbly station, which would be very lovely.
Just stop the review. Like,
You know?
I'm in.
Yeah, right there.
Say less.
Thanks. We're done.
Yeah.
There's, of course, complimentary cocktails and drinks, showers, nap pods, and a wellness area, including a great photo of Peter that he took, a selfie photo of him with the Hyper Ice leg air compressors with himself sitting in the lounge chair. That's for journalism. That's just good by Peter. And, of course, a sushi bar, which is kind of the special LAX touch there. And Peter swears that the sushi was, quote, shockingly high quality.
Yeah, because
It's got to be really good.
It has to be, because
in order to sell airport sushi.
I barely trust grocery store sushi, let alone airport sushi. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if the debut sushi, when Peter reviewed this still pretty early on after they opened, maybe I trust it, but I don't know. A couple of months down the line after the gloss is worn off, I'm not sure. All right, Kyle, so you've been to the Delta One lounge at JFK. Based on what you've read,
how's the sushi?
Review, how's the sushi?
It's JFK, so it's just lox on a bagel.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the JFK lounge does not have sushi, so that's you dock a couple of points right there. First of all, the LA lounge is significantly smaller. We're talking like 10-ish thousand square feet compared to 40,000 square feet. And yet, the JFK lounge, when I was there, and this was last fall, so it's past the peak of summer travel. It was on a Saturday, which was one of the slower days in Delta's network in global travel. And it was still like uncomfortably busy by about 4 p.m. to the point where it's like, okay, yes, it was harder to get in. Yes, the food is great. Yes, it's got a sit-down restaurant and shower suites, and you can go get a facial treatment before your flight if you can wait 3 hours, because that's how long the wait is. But how does this still feel kind of like a Delta Sky Club inside? And so what stood out to me most about Peter's experience in LA, which granted was in the morning, but he still said, you know what, it really never got busy, even by the time he left in the afternoon, which that is the number one thing that I think people want from any airport lounge, let alone a business class or first class lounges. A little bit more room to stretch out, a little bit more cozy, rather than the feeling like you're rubbing elbows with people at the buffet while you scrape up some food.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, how do you solve a problem like Maria? Is the problem then, or is the solution, don't build these unless you have the real estate to do it, because you're inevitably just going to make people mad, and it's not going to seem like a premium experience. That's just my amateur take on it, having never been in one yet. Delta, if you'd like to send me one, I'm ready to go. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think people down in Atlanta listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I would.
So you're going to have to send a couple emails.
We've given them enough to be angry at us about already.
And I think you're right. And I think by building these, they raise the expectations. And so people go to the airport even earlier in order to visit these lounges. And I think, candidly, while I don't want to give them ideas that are going to make people mad, one of the mistakes that Delta has made in JFK in particular is that they allow people to visit with a business class ticket at any time. Whereas at a Sky Club, you can only visit 3 hours before your flight. And I do think if they continue to see problems in New York in particular, that this is something that's probably going to have to change.
Yeah, we got airport dads showing up to the airport 8 hours early to take advantage of the Delta
Look,
Lounge.
listen, did I do that? I sure did. That was for science.
You were working.
Yeah.
You were working. Let's be clear.
Yeah, this place is too crowded, but I'm not one of them.
Yeah. But not me. I'm not the one who's over the limit.
So, Jason, you said, if Delta called and said, hey, come on down to the Delta Lounge, you'd go. But is this something you'd seek out with your own money or your own points?
Look, I have been known to pick a flight based on the aircraft. I have been known to switch. We're in that. Let's take this flight because this has a. I would if it wasn't much of a hassle. I would check this out. I like the fact that they have this. But like you said, Kyle, be careful because before you even said that, my expectation as a consumer would be, I better not be able to get in.
Yeah,
if I'm a Delta One customer and you're telling me, then I know what I would think. Then what is the difference between this and a Delta club, a regular Sky Club? I worry about that for them.
The thing is it's going to be a constant problem because, to your point, there's never going to be enough real estate available in airports in order to fix this. All the while, every airline worth their salt right now and every credit card company keeps trying to raise the bar while building more lounges and upgrading the experience and raising the bar and the expectations even higher, all while letting more people in, whether more people are booking a Delta or Air France or KLM business class ticket with their cash or with their points, or with a credit card that gets them into one of the other lounges. So we're just kind of in this vicious cycle where I don't know that the problem, if the problem is lounge overcrowding, is ever really going to actually get better. I think it's just going to plateau.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's also a line outside the Delta One Lounge is a line of people that are probably prone to a nice meltdown too, especially if you spent $6,000 or whatever it is on a Delta One seat and all of a sudden they're saying, hey, sorry, you got to wait in line like cattle. I'm sure there are some people who have not taken that news very well. Speaking of some bad news, let's head over to something cold, which is we're going to talk a little bit more about AI flight pricing. Last week on the show, we wondered aloud if any lawmakers would ever step up after Delta's kind of brash comments about using AI to set flight prices up to 20% of their fares by the end of the year. It appears at least two members of the House were already working on something. So, two Democrats, Representative Greg Casar of Texas and Representative Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, signed on to the bill that seeks to ban surveillance-based pricing on things like airfare. It's not just airfare. So meaning if you were searching for Rolexes in your browser and then you went over to delta.com to book a flight, maybe Delta would serve you a higher fare knowing that you would pay it. So this announcement of this bill comes after Delta got a little overzealous, bragging to investors about its AI plans next week. We covered that extensively and talked all about it on last week's episode, which I encourage you to listen to if you haven't already. But so as I understand it, these lawmakers are starting to fight back, Kyle, but Delta's not even doing surveillance-based pricing yet, right?
Right. So far as we know, which reinforces the point that we've made a couple of times, and I think taps into all of the frustration that we've seen this year, whether it's about AI or about penalizing solo travelers, which is nobody understands this stuff. There's no clarity, no transparency whatsoever in how airlines set prices. So while we can sit here and say, theoretically, knowing how the systems that airlines use, they aren't currently using personalized pricing. I mean, what average consumer is going to believe that? To you, kind of on the outside of the airline industry, what do you feel when you hear and talk about these things?
Well, as someone outside and someone who travels a lot, I certainly wouldn't want. I'm not, and I'm also not naive. I know that within 4 or 5 years, AI will be taking over a lot of systems for a lot of things that we do. So I'm not naive and I'm not Pollyannish about it. However, what I don't like is the fact that just because, like the scenario you gave, just because I happen to Google a Mercedes, show me what the interior of the new Mercedes looks like. I don't want Delta to be like twisting their mustache waiting to tie me to a train track, and like, oh, well, this rich guy I'm going to charge him more than, Gloria, who Googled a Toyota Corolla, because I think that's, that would really anger me. That would be something that would kind of test my loyalty, is finding that out. Because it's not arbitrary, but still, you're making a lot of assumptions based on my web searches, which you can make a lot of assumptions about my web searches, but yeah.
I mean, there's the version that you laid out where Delta or whichever airline, because again, this is bigger than just Delta.
Yeah.
This is an industry-wide push, and there's not one airline that's going to do this while the rest of them sit back and say, let's see how this goes. They're going to all do this together if and when that happens. There's that version of wealthy people or people who have signs of wealth, like whatever their web searches or their previous purchases with the airline are, where they use that. But the vision that, Congressman Kassar laid out was charging somebody a higher fare because they search for a funeral. And therefore, the airline knows or believes that this person needs to be somewhere and therefore needs to travel more, which again, every single airline in the country will tell you right now, believe them or not, that's not what we're going to do. But currently, there are, so far as I know, no limits on what kind of data airlines could use in order to personalize pricing. So does it stop at the airline headquarters? Can they only do this based upon your previous purchase history, so that they know because you have previously paid $229 one way to fly from Minneapolis to Miami, they can probably charge you higher than $149? That in itself is pretty troubling. But if you start to fold in external factors like your recent purchases and what that says about your economic status and therefore how much you're willing to pay, that's where I think things
Or taking advantage of something like, oh, I have to go to Aunt Betsy's funeral.
Right.
That's awful.
And so while Delta, so far as we know, isn't doing this already, nor is any other airline at any semblance of scale, we need to be having these conversations right now. And, while I am not super bullish about the odds of this bill making much headway in a Republican-controlled Congress, because 2 Democrats introduced it and there's no Republican co-sponsors on board that I've seen so far, we need to have more of these conversations. And I think if nothing else, Delta's comments earlier this month probably just served as a trial balloon to see just how far the American traveling public would be willing to accept this. And so far, the answer seems like not at all. And
not at all. And I think, like you said, Kyle, and you said last week in last week's episode, it is time to start the conversation. I'm glad these 2 lawmakers are stepping forward. I've got to imagine this is a pretty popular issue, probably a bipartisan issue. I got to imagine there's going to be a lot more support for this, especially given how people have reacted to this Delta news in the general public over the last few days and weeks. So lots to look forward to there. Unfortunately, we'll be talking about it every step of the way. We will definitely be covering this story, but we're going to focus on a little happier note and talk a little bit more about Jason's life and travel, and talk about some Disney and some cruises and whatever else.
Hawaii,
whatever else we get to on the other end of this break.
We've said it before, but I need to say it again. If you want flight deals, you need Thrifty Traveler Premium. 24/7, 365, our team is sending out the cheapest flights and the hardest to book business class deals that you can book with your points.
So the deals have been especially good lately. And Jason, you're a premium subscriber and you can attest to this. Do you have a favorite deal from the past little bit that you think showcases the service well?
Yeah, my best friend Lisa, who I have to credit her, and if I don't, she'll kill me about you guys. She had a round trip to Paris for like $200 because of you guys in the middle of the night. They really they're in the middle of the night doing these deals, trust me. Because Lisa got one of these deals in the middle of the night, around $200. So yeah, it's so worth it, beyond worth it.
Sign up today. I mean, we can't promise you another $200 flight deal to Paris in the middle of the night, but if you want other great flight deals, sign up today at thriftytraveler.com/premium. As a special treat, our podcast listeners can use the promo code TTPOD for $20 off your first year of deal alerts. That's thriftytraveler.com/premium. Use the promo code TTPOD, 5 letters, all one word, for $20 off your first year. Back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Let's get into the extra mile topic, which this week is Jason.
Hi.
And all things Jason's travels. Okay, let's start from the beginning. When did you start traveling, or when did you fall in love with traveling?
Great question. I recently thought about this. I didn't really start, like so many of us. I didn't have a lot of disposable income in my 20s. I was really focused on my career. And I didn't realize what I didn't do until about a year ago. I'm like, I really didn't travel much in my 20s when, after college, a lot of people do that. They take time off. I didn't. I went right into doing my career. So it happened to me in my mid 30s. I had a little bit of disposable income, and that all went to travel. So that's what I decided to do with my money, was to have adventures and have experiences. So yeah, it started at mid 30s.
That's awesome. Were there any kind of destinations in the mid 30s that you hit that kind of started at this and fueled it for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Vancouver, of all places. I went there for work, but I extended it. I was there for the Fantastic Four, the one with Jessica Alba. And I fell in love with that city. So I extended my trip. And when people ask me now, like, favorite cities, Vancouver is always oddly in my list of like top 20 places to go. But yeah, I have to give it to the good Vancouverans. Yeah, you did it.
Vancouver is my favorite city in the world.
Really?
I love Vancouver. Yeah.
I honestly didn't know that.
I've been several times. I love it there. I just booked and had to dump another trip to Vancouver this fall. We were trying to take my new daughter there just to show her my favorite city. She's an infant. She will never remember it. But I needed to show her.
It wasn't about Emery. It was about you.
Yeah, right. This is my excuse. But I love Vancouver. Just set in the mountains, right on the water.
Gorgeous.
Just a beautiful, incredibly diverse city. And the drives up the coast and up to Whistler and the Sea to Sky Highway. Everything.
Yep.
Everything about it. I love Canada. I love Vancouver especially.
I do love that you had to specify which Fantastic Four press tour you were talking about.
Well, there's been 4.
I know.
I mean, it's been like 4 different versions of the darn thing. Yeah.
Okay, Vancouver started it out for you. What's left on your list where you haven't been yet?
I want to. Yeah, Vancouver started it. Hawaii energized it, and I know we'll get into that. And that really energized it. And on my list, I want to do Ireland, and I eventually would love to do Australia. But I'm backing off on the Australia. Just because of the critters, the wildlife they have there scares the hell out of me. I mean, just the fact they have spiders the size of 4th graders. I'm honestly backing off of Australia. I really am serious about that. It freaks me out. But yeah, I'm not a spider guy. But no, Ireland is on that list. That would be the next place I would like to go. And then I know we will also get into Disney a little bit. It will be a life goal. I want to visit all of the international parks of the Disney universe. So
that's really cool. Let's talk about Hawaii.
Okay.
So what about it? Where did you first go to Hawaii, and then just tell us about kind of where you've been since?
Yeah, honeymoon. So that was the 2014, and that was on Oahu. We did Oahu and Maui, and that was the most touristy Hawaii trip we've done, maybe the next one too. But Oahu, I know what people are thinking, because I have people in my life that go, oh, really, out of all the islands, Oahu, really Waikiki? I go, I know.
You have a lot of British friends?
I do, yeah. I do have 2. But I go, I know it is, Waikiki is it's Vegas, Hawaii, I call it. But I love Oahu because it really is one-stop shopping to me for people. That island has every mood you could possibly want. You can go to the North Shore and get that vibe. You can go to where the Disney Resort is in the Four Seasons, which Ko'olina, which is a different vibe. You can go down to the city and get that vibe. You can go in the more residential areas. I just think dollar for dollar, Oahu, and I've been to all of them now, oddly, except for the Big Island, which we're getting ready to go to. Dollar for dollar, it's still my favorite. I know it's cheesy, but you can literally do anything there. To me, yeah.
There are things that I don't like about Oahu, but there is not another one of the Hawaiian Islands, to my knowledge, that you can go to and find a genuine dive bar. And you can walk. I'm not even joking.
You're absolutely right.
Not even 5 minutes from Waikiki Beach, you can find dive bars with like $4 beers and $6 cocktails.
Yeah.
And so if you want the beauty of Hawaii, but also being able to do it on a budget, that's not a bad place to start.
No.
So what was it other than, Oahu and kind of seeing all of the different facets of what you can do and what an island can be? What was it that made Hawaii, like, at this point, I would say, like, a lifelong love of travel for you?
Yeah. This sounds so cheesy, but it's true. It really is the people. And I know maybe you feel that I now have genuine friends there. And I just, the people and the culture there, they were so welcoming that I found, and this is when I knew, I'm like, oh God, they got me, is when I started feeling very protective. And I started feeling even more of a need to be respectful of the island. I found myself yelling at a woman on the beach because she was littering. And I thought, okay, Jason, you need to calm down. You're making a fool of yourself. This woman, you're yelling at this woman because she's littering. But I was really upset. And I was like, what is that? I find everything about it to be very magical and special. And I feel that, look, I've felt that on Maui. I've felt that in Kauai, even though, that's sleepy, girl. That's you. That's Kauai is very sleepy. But there's something special about those people, and the fact that they have to deal with so many tourists, and I mean this, the fact that they have to deal with so many tourists who don't respect their home, and they still manage to greet you and put a smile. That's amazing, man. That's something. That's something special. So
yeah, like true high-end hospitality. And we've all seen headlines of over tourism in Hawaii over the last few years, and you gotta feel for those people. And you're right, like it's just a true next level of hospitality.
And people are getting worse. I don't want to go on too much about this, but whether it's hospitality people in Hawaii or my friends at Disney, at my cast member friends at Disney, it is not an isolated incident. I've heard from everybody, and I have somebody in each facet of these things. People are getting worse. It is really a problem. The tourists are getting meaner. They're getting more demanding. They're just, and I have seen it take a toll on my friends who work in bartending or they work in service. I've seen it. It makes me sad. It really does.
Yeah, that's probably an entire podcast topic just to talk about the kind of deterioration of travel ethics.
How to stop being a bad traveler and a bad person. So that's a podcast episode.
Yeah, we need to file that away if we could take note of that one. But yeah, I think it's, obviously we all try to do our best, but I think it's clear out there that something has changed. And whether it's maybe things are more expensive, so people feel like they're entitled to a little bit more when they go to places, but like especially places that are sacred, like Hawaii.
Yes.
It's hard to fathom why you would possibly act like that in a place like that.
The last time I was in Hawaii, which was a couple of years ago now, you and Colin had recently been, and I just remembered you saying something about go to the Royal Hawaiian, go to Mai Tai Bar, and ask for Susan at the Mai Tai Bar.
That's right, Kyle.
And tell her I sent you.
Yes.
Why did you tell me to do that? What is it about Susan that's so special out of all of the people?
I thought you meant because I like you, Kyle. I was trying to be nice to you. Why would I offer that tip to you? Susan is, and I don't want to go too long on this because we could do an entire episode on her.
With Susan.
No joke. Susan is the first woman allowed to be a bartender at that bar. She was hired like in 1978 and the first woman to be allowed to be a bartender. And that is a legendary spot in Waikiki. Bruno Mars sang at that bar. Many singers have performed there, and it's just the spot. And Susan is like the grandmother of that bar, and she knows service. Like she is the one that when we come in when we land and we get to the hotel, I can't change quick enough, and I get down to the Mai Tai Bar, and she just outstretches her hands and cries and runs around and gives me a hug, and it's just, yeah. And she treats everybody. She'll save you a seat. Like if you go to the beach for a little while, she'll put a reserve sign on your chair to reserve. It's just a level of service you don't see a lot anymore.
Right. So you hear this all the time on the internet now, and in social media in particular, like go to this place, tell this person I sent you. And no offense to you, but you can drop these things and be like, oh, okay, what can I get you? So you kind of half expect that, right?
Absolutely.
So we go to the Mai Tai Bar. We find Susan, and we say, Jason Matheson from Minnesota told us to come and say hi to you. She's really nice, and kind of went about or got some drinks in. And then like 10 minutes later, she comes back with a basket of fries that we did not ask for. We're like, you have to try these. These are delectable. But the best story is probably 10, 15 minutes later, we're sitting there and this woman comes up, and I don't know if this is podcast appropriate, but she was just doing some good old fashioned prostituting. And it was just like surreal, where everybody else around the bar is like, what do we do? And then eventually it was clear that she had no clientele around the Mai Tai Bar. And Susan just looks at us and she goes, you read my mind.
Yeah, Susan won't be. I'm so glad Susan won't be overly not gracious. She won't be effusive, but she'll do stuff like that to let you know that I'm so glad you said that. That you are special. It'll be, here's some fries, or she will over make a drink, like a frozen drink, and she'll slide you the extras. If you sit there, you're absolutely right, because she doesn't have to be like, oh my God, she's not that kind of personality. It'll be the subtle service, subtle pieces of service.
Yeah, it was great.
It's always nice to feel like you're actually being taken care of.
But they're all like that there. Every guy, Cooey at night is great. Hi, Cooey.
Cooey, thanks for watching. All right, so we're talking about good service, great hospitality. You are not shy about your Delta loyalty. Has Delta given you good service in return for your loyalty to them?
We'll be right back. Thrifty Traveler will continue after these messages.
We've established the people in Atlanta are not watching nor listening. So
look, I have had my tussles with Delta over the years. I will tell you though, knock on wood, I've had lately a pretty good run with them. Look, have I been frustrated? I think my number one frustration with them, they've provided me good service. But I think my number one frustration is the perks, kind of like our conversation about what we would streamline at airports. If you're going to give us a perk, don't make it so hard to use said perk. I think that goes a lot, because that's where my irritation level. And again, it's not just with Delta. If you're going to give me a companion certificate with my $4,000 annual fee credit card, my goodness, don't make the companion certificate only valid to Hooterville at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday. That is my eternal beef, is because then I just feel like you don't really value me. That's just my thing with them. But in fairness, we're good. We haven't broken up lately. Yeah.
But you said, which I think a lot of people felt in the fall of, it started really loudly in the fall of 2023 when Delta announced all of the changes to its medallion status program, some of which they rolled back, many of which they didn't. So
I dressed up as a credit card for Halloween that said no value.
We still have that credit card in the office, by the way. Have you changed how you spend and reward Delta with your loyalty at all since then? Or is Delta just the only game in town and they know they can get away with these things?
No, I have changed a little bit. Hawaii, for instance, admittedly, we'll go United. We, depending on the aircraft, United's first class, the cabins, Delta only flies older planes to Hawaii, which really Delta, I don't understand that.
No,
It's
crazy.
not, and if we can get a good deal, because we have another credit card that we can transfer to United points, because of you guys, I learned that from you guys. No, my loyalty is to Delta. I want to get the points. I want the status, but I'll cheat on them. I'm a philanderer. I'm a Delta philanderer, mainly with United.
Yeah.
If I can get a good flight to Hawaii, sorry, I did it this last Christmas trip.
Yeah.
Proudly.
It's not often that we would encourage people to be philanderers on a podcast or on our website, but
Hey,
be
we've
willing,
already talked about
willing.
prostitutes. What did you call it? Good old fashioned prostituting?
Yeah. I dropped the G. So it had a little bit of
Was that the
country
first
twang.
time that term's
That
ever
was.
been used on the Thrifty
Yeah.
Traveler podcast?
That
Okay.
was.
It's
But no,
probably
but-
the last, I hope.
But all joking aside, I'm loyal. It's changed me a little bit. I wish I was as mad as I was that day, where I'm like, I'm never flying them again. Oh, I want that status.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're not alone. And so we try to remind ourselves every time something like this happens, whether it's Delta with its medallion status program changes, or a credit card raising the annual fee, or most recently with Southwest and everything that they've done to basically blow up their entire business model. We do things like surveys, and we ask people, are you actually changing your habits? Are you spending on a different credit card, or are you booking a different airline? And we just have to tell ourselves that there are a majority, if not a vast majority, of people will say yes, but when push comes to shove, they're not going to do anything differently. And I think in large part because you may not really have a realistic alternative. And, in the case of Delta, for as much as we, the three of us and others out there, might gripe about them, they're the number one airline in the United States for a reason. That doesn't happen by accident, right?
Yeah. My complaints are far lower than what I love about them. And I still feel, we may get into it later in a future episode, I still feel I get a pretty good value. I can still cut a deal with them as far as points.
Mm-hmm.
I hoard points like a little raccoon. I still feel like I can get a good deal every so often. So that keeps me halfway in the game too.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. And also, like you mentioned, if I broke up with Delta would never feel that. They're winning that breakup every single time, and then I can't fly the airline that flies 60% of the flights out of my home airport. So we all are kind of tied. We have to fly Delta in some regards, and I do think that I still, like you said, do pretty well with my points and miles redemptions on Delta, especially when you can leverage their partners and then take advantage of some SkyMiles flash sales. But yeah, you have to be a bit of a free agent to make things work, and it's good to hear that you had some good experiences in United Polaris too.
I thought you were going to say it's good to hear you were a philanderer on yeah, Polaris. Oh, that's why I couldn't think of Polaris. Beautiful cabins, man. I mean,
It's great.
Delta, please, will you get a new? I was going to say ship. Will you get a new thing, a new plane for Hawaii? Thank you. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Well, you mentioned ships. I have a question. Do you love or hate cruises?
It's funny. You can't tell by my social because all I do is complain. No, I have learned to love cruising, and I wasn't sure I was going to. I like kids on a case-by-case basis, and there are a lot of them on these vessels, and I just wasn't sure. I did Royal first, and then I moved to Celebrity, and then I did Disney, and I love it. I have to say now to answer, I do love it. Not all aspects of it, not all brands, but I do love it.
So pitch me on it, because I've never been on like a real cruise. Pitch me on why you like it, and what's the case for cruises.
Let me specifically, I'll take the two brands that I love the most, and I'll make this brief. Let me take Celebrity first.
Yeah,
I think Celebrity. Now you're different because you have a new what are they called? Children. You have a new child. I will say, if you're like me and you have no children, Celebrity is the way to go. I think it is the vessels are beautiful. They are geared toward adults. They are geared probably toward people that are afraid of cruising and think, oh, it's just a sea of people and no one washes their hands and it's gross. These ships are beautiful with art, and you can tell they're made for adults with lounge spaces all over. Great restaurants, both included in the price and great extra dining. Quality food, not, and I'm picky. I'm not a foodie, but I'm lucky enough to have people in my life that are foodies. The food is tremendous. The way they treat you at the ports is tremendous. I remember really quick, we docked at Grand Cayman. This was a couple years ago, and it was hotter than it was just, yeah. And we were coming back, and we saw two lines. And I won't say which one, but the other line, it was serpentine like 4,000 times. And Colin looks at me and he goes, oh God, because you have to take a tender. They can't dock at Grand Cayman. So you have to take a tender. So this was the line for the tender. And Colin goes, look at that line to get on the ship. And the woman that was with us, or one of the people walking with us, goes, oh no, honey, that's not our line. That's the cruise ship. I won't say which one. It was another cruise ship. She goes, that's our line. And we walk up. I am not joking. They had covered waiting areas. They had wet towels to give us and fruit kebabs. And I thought, okay, these people know. Celebrity knows how to do it, because that's all. That right there, that's the stuff I care about, is that extra. That's not what I expected. And the ports are great for a celebrity. Let me talk Disney. And I would never, let me say this too. Let me slip this in there. If you are watching and you have a family, I'm being serious. Not that I don't want you on the vessel with me, but I just would never bring a kid on a celebrity cruise. And it baffles me when parents do, because there are no slides. There are no things for these kids to do. Disney shocked me the most. I think maybe, I don't know if you and I talked about this, but Disney shocked me. As much as I love Disney and the Disney parks, it took me, look at this, it took me 10 years before I did a Disney cruise. I am not joking, you two. The further I am away from the Disney cruise, the more I'm blown away. And Colin, who's even pickier, it's probably his favorite cruise, because Disney, the service, the ships are gorgeous, and they don't mess around with the adult-only areas. They enforce that. So the grown-ups actually have a wonderful time. And there's so much for kids to do. If you don't want to see a child, you don't have to see a kid. For all of that, I people told me, and I didn't believe them, Disney Cruise Line blew me away. And I was ready. I love it. I was ready to go on the shows and say, oh, okay, this was too much. Like this, the kids were feral. They were running around. Blew me away. Blew me away.
That's
shocking.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Like Gunnar, I'm a bit of a cruise skeptic. I would say I'm pretty averse to it. So a lot of what you described, I would say, and tell me how I'm wrong here. A lot of what you described with great service and attention to detail, and making sure that people have the places that they can go. You can get that at a hotel or a resort. So what is it about being on the ship in particular that clicked for you?
It is the convenience of you're done. I hate the question every night. Like I'm surprised I don't have it yet. What are we doing for dinner tonight?
It's a really good Colin impression.
Thank you. Yeah. That's such a good question. You are done. The minute you board that ship, everything is kind of done for you. You don't. Yes, you can get all this in a hotel, but everything is right there. If you want to sleep in, if you want to go to a seafood restaurant, you go to the 5th floor. You don't have to whip out a credit card. Everything's paid for. You can get everything. There's a convenience factor to it that relaxes, like subconsciously relaxes you. And I found that to be freeing. And I just like, and I like the experience of the sea. Like, I know that sounds goofy, but it's beautiful. Like my favorite things on it were an evening walk. They have Celebrity has a beautiful track around, no water slide. In lieu of a water slide, they have like a jogging track. Every night, Colin and I would walk around the ship in the breeze. And I know it sounds goofy, but there is just something kind of beautiful about that. And I found it relaxed me in a way that if I'm in Key West or if I'm Disney or if I'm in Hawaii, I'm still kind of on. I still have to make a lot of decisions. They're all made for me on the ship.
Yeah, the idea of the single check-in at the beginning is something that kind of relieves some anxiety for me. So in that way, I'm definitely cruise curious, because the idea of changing hotels and lodging several times throughout a trip, like I like to pack in lots of different things and places. That part is always the most annoying, where it's you're packing up your life again and moving again. So that part I'm definitely interested in.
I was both of you. I really was both of you. And it really celebrity changed me. That sounds really dramatic. It just that brand, they do a phenomenal job. Whenever I just had this conversation with somebody over the weekend that are very apprehensive, and I said they want to do it adult. I go, do celebrity. Do one of the new ships. You'll love it.
All right, let's talk about something else with a cult following that you are definitely an expert on, Disney.
Oh.
You said obviously your Disney cruise experience was amazing, but your love for Disney kind of spans throughout all of their, platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you'd call it with Disney, but you also hosted a Disney podcast, The Fairy Godfather.
Two Fairy Godfather. Yeah, it's coming back actually.
Back.
I'm not busy enough.
Awesome. So what's the first topic on Two Fairy Godfathers?
The cruising.
Oh yeah,
the cruises. Yeah, Disney, because the podcast is about because the world does not need another podcast, and it doesn't need another Disney podcast. But ours is about how to do Disney as adults, because we do it very differently. Like Kyle and I do Disney. People are like, "Oh, that's how you do it." I'm like, "Yeah, we're not taking pictures with Donald." And, it's just
it's goofy.
It's very goofy. Yeah.
So what's the key then for Disney for adults?
Disney for adults is the key is probably Epcot Center. If you're going to put something in the middle of it, is Epcot Center, because it is the most adult of all the parks. And if it also helps. You got to be a ride person. Kyle and I love rides, so we joke that it's go on ride, a cocktail, go on a ride, cocktail, and then kind of rinse and repeat. With Epcot, with the World Showcase, their rotation of festivals. Basically every time of the year, there's going to be a festival, whether it's the art festival, their legendary food and wine festival, which is so fantastic, where there are additional booths all around Epcot with food from around the world, wines from around the world. And just, the properties that are there, whether it's the JW, Disney property has now every big brand, every hotel brand has a beautiful property there. And I'm big on hotels. When I was a little kid, I didn't get to stay at big hotels, so I always loved them. So I love to explore properties. And whether it's the JW there or the Waldorf Astoria, or the Four Seasons, Orlando, the Walt Disney World Four Seasons is probably one of the most beautiful properties I've been to, period. The Swan Reserve is a favorite of mine. It's a Marriott property. Get those Bonvoy points. And then Disney Springs, which you don't need a ticket for, and that's kind of a shopping, food mecca. We go there every night, at the end of a park day. It just really has something for everyone, and there's an energy to it that I just love. I really do. And the fundamental thing is I'm a ride person. I love rides, and yeah.
Aside from the rides, what really does it for you? Is part of it just nostalgia, or
no? I think Kyle, it's a great question. I think it is the energy. It's the people, and now we also know people there. We're friends with people, but it is the energy. And you would think, given the job that I do, that I would want to not be around a lot of people, but because I don't have to talk to them, and I can just be free, I can just walk around and eat a Mickey bar or what I'm not eating those, but there is an energy to it that I really love. And it's just, the parks are incredible. I mean, the fact that you can go into Epcot and, go on Guardians of the Galaxy and then go down to fake France, I call it, and, fake France and fake UK and, get champagne. And, each of those countries are hosted by representatives from that country, which I think is fantastic. So when you go to France, fake France, the young people there working are from the host country. So I don't know. There's just there's a lot for me to enjoy.
You mentioned that you want to hit all of the Disney parks around the world. Which ones have you been to so far? Any that stand out?
I haven't been into any of them, actually.
Not to any of them?
I haven't been to any of them.
Okay. What are there any that are kind of highest on your list that you want to go to next?
Yeah, Shanghai.
Yeah.
Shanghai just has it took so long for them to build. It was such a dealing with the governments, dealing with it just took a long time to build. And the rides they have there are spectacular. Disneyland Paris, because of how beautiful it's considered the most beautiful of all the parks. It really is the stained glass. It's in Europe. Disney couldn't put up something crappy. They knew they would be held to a different standard. So that's considered the most beautiful park. So those two are on my list, top two.
Our coworker Casey is heading to Shanghai soon, and I believe it's her last one.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
But that is really cool. I've heard many, many good things about that park in particular too. So do you have a plan? Do you have anything set in stone for how you want to get these done?
Yeah, when one of the shows goes away, when I stop doing two jobs, then I'm gonna do just a tour. I'm not joking. I literally do want that. I want to be a trip, one fundamental trip where I just do them all. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. No, I will. I'm going to put it out there.
You got to commit to it.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and you got to stop accepting invitations to come on shows like this to waste even more of your time.
Are you kidding me? I was excited. So
you are, I would say, an unconventional fan of Thrifty Traveler.
Mm-hmm.
What sucked you into this world?
I do a Q&A with the studio audience every day after the talk show, after the Jason show. And I get asked, not about you guys, but I get asked about certain guests and stuff. And I said, with Jared, but you guys, because Jared does the show, I like it. It connects to Disney. With Disney and getting like lightning lane reservations, it's almost like a game of like, okay, I got to plan. Okay, I got to get Tower of Terror at 11:15, and I'm going to get back on the app, and then I got to get the next ride, I want to schedule it at 12, and I keep refreshing. And you'll see where I'm going in a minute. And I like that aspect of it. It's frustrating, but I like it. With you guys, I now consider it's almost a mental game for me of how can I construct my trip and how many deals. Okay, I'm going to use, like you guys taught me, I call it the game. Thrifty Traveler taught me, okay, I'm going to use the Amex Gold Card for restaurants and grocery shopping because I get 4 times points. And then I'm going to use my Amex can transfer to Marriott. So I put all year round, I put all my groceries on that credit card. Then my Delta, obviously, my Delta Reserve, I put all my travel on there. And any big expense I put on there because I want to get that status. So it's a game. When we go to plan, I get 2 big trips a year. I get a summer hiatus from the shows, and I get 3 weeks off in the holidays. The quick example that you guys did for me, and this is what I tell the audience. This is why I brought up the audience. I'm a little off on the numbers, but I'm in the ballpark. Last year was my 50th birthday, and we did 2 weeks in Hawaii. And we went to Maui to the Ritz-Carlton for a couple days just because we wanted to see the property. And then we did the rest of it at the Royal Hawaiian. And Colin and I flew Delta One there and back. I only spent $2,300 on that whole trip.
Yeah,
that's good.
$2,300 on everything I just said.
So I think that's the part that piques people's interest.
Mm-hmm.
But you need something to kind of hook you into this world and say like, hey, this is worth spending, in some cases, obscene amounts of time on because the reward is worth it.
Oh, yeah.
But you need more than the reward. And I'm so glad that you said that you start to see it as a fun game because it is a puzzle trying to fit these pieces together. And I think absent the reward of getting this amazing trip for literally pennies on the dollar, the fun part of the game is when you start to see this and be like, this is fun for me. And it's not for everybody, right?
No.
It's certainly for the 3 of us in this room and, hundreds, thousands of people out there. But for a lot of people, it's just endlessly frustrating and they want somebody else to deal with it or don't want to do it at all. But you need that viewing the travel planning and booking process as the beginning of the trip makes the entire thing even more rewarding, regardless of how much money you save.
Yeah. Our living room kind of looks like this when we're the night that we're doing it. I have my iPad. Colin has his MacBook. I have my phone, and he's looking up his points on that one. I'm looking up my points on this one. And then he has an encyclopedic mind, so he handles all credit due to him. He is going, okay, Jace, okay, how many, go back, how many Delta points do you have? And I'll be like, okay, I have, or not, how many miles? I'll be like, okay, I have, I think, like, honestly, right now, I think I have like 253,000. So he'll say, okay, I want you to book, I just saw it, you can get a one-way Delta One to Hawaii, so I need you to book that. Okay, then I book that. And then he goes, okay, how many, and it takes a night, but it is a puzzle. And I love that he handles it, but it is fun, like just watching him piece it together.
Yeah, it's kind of a type 2 fun, you know.
It's yeah. When some people are like that, it's not. I know. I believe me. I hear you. It's not fun for everybody.
No, but it is like it's really rewarding, and yeah, I think just the puzzle part of it, and the fact that we're all good Midwesterners, we love to brag about a bargain, and it's it helps to be able to at a dinner party when someone says how'd you just get to Africa and back, and then I get to tell them how little I paid for it. That's even better.
Because that trip I described, the Royal Hawaiian, like if I pull it up right now, I mean, a Royal Hawaiian night per night, it can go like $600 easily. And I, got all but one night paid for by my Amex points.
Right.
Transferred that bad boy, those points over. I got most of my trip free because I put everything in one card that you guys taught me. Yeah.
There's two really important parts of this journey. There's the entry point of being like, I'll give this a shot. But then I feel like the hardest part is oh no, like this is just something that I do now. This is an important part of my life. And we talk all the time on the show together. And whenever we have a guest on, of what the aha moment was when you realize that this is worth it and this is worth spending more of your time on. So what was your aha moment?
The first trip, seeing, it was a few trips ago, and it was another Hawaii because it's so expensive. It was, the aha moment came actually because we didn't play the game well for that particular trip. I just remember this. It happened in the planning of a trip, but we went, oh God, if we only had, I think it was Amex points. He goes, okay, we got to start putting more on the Amex point, on that Amex January through August or whatever. And then that next year I was prepared. And let me tell you, I followed through with the strategy. It was that gold card. I got the Amex Gold, and I just put all groceries and restaurants because you get 4 times points. And I watched the points rack up. I'm like, oh, I just went to Whole Foods and I got 1,000. You know what I mean? I don't go to Whole Foods, but I'm just saying, yeah. That's when the aha moment, because I messed up. The aha moment came through a mess up, and then I did better.
We have stories like that too. Failure is the greatest teacher, and that's not to say that you failed, because it's the lowest stakes failure of all time.
Yeah,
right?
I just had to pay, but yeah.
Right. But you have to be willing to mess up a little bit and then learn from your mistake and then do better the next time. That's maybe the biggest piece of this game, as you call it.
Yeah, and also like what airports should you, like for someplace like Hawaii, if we're gonna have a layover, I've learned like what a good layover city and what's not a good layover city, and what it's been fun for me.
Yeah, that's great advice. Get in the game so you can start to play it, but you have to learn by doing when you're doing all of this. Can we help a listener?
Let's help a listener.
Let's help a listener.
Today we have a really interesting question from listener Alex Calderon. I'm paraphrasing here, but Alex has some issues with booking Delta flights with partner airlines. Specifically, an airline made a big schedule change that left him feeling like really stuck in an itinerary that would have been too expensive to change. Plus, Alex noted what we discussed about premium travel credit cards a few weeks ago, namely that they're getting more expensive and kind of less friendly to the average consumer with the, kind of coupon book style of credit card. That said, here's his question. Is there a case for the average traveler to instead forego the flexible ecosystem and put their eggs into the local airline's basket? He is talking specifically about Delta, like we have. And he said it makes him sick to think about having to commit to the SkyMiles program. But he admits that with a 3-year-old, he's a little less flexible than he used to be, and that just taking the easy route might be the play. Kyle, what do you think about what Alex is saying here? It kind of goes against some of what we say, right?
It does, but I think it all comes back to the bigger point that we've tried to make is that there's no one size fits all answer. What's right for you and I is going to be different than what's right for Jason. And it's certainly going to be different than what's right for Alex with a 3-year-old and what he wants to do with his travel. I would say you shouldn't look at it as a black and white. You got to find somewhere on the spectrum of, all right, I've been really leaning towards flexible cards and I feel like I've been getting burned. And, SkyMiles, the rates are a lot higher when I'm going to redeem them. It's easy and it works well. And when things go wrong, it's much easier to unwind. So I would step back a little bit and think, okay, how can I do both in a way that's going to suit me best? And Jason, honestly, your stories about using Delta the way that you do, I think makes this point pretty perfectly.
Yeah, I would agree with you. To me, for him, I don't know. I maybe would put, if he wants ease, if you don't want to play the game and what the previous segment, if that made your eyes roll in the back of your head, then I would do, this is just me, I would do all eggs in one basket. I mean, it just makes it easy. You don't have to do math. It's just all right there. That's what I would do, my friend.
Yeah. It's a really interesting question because obviously the cheapest way to get around some of those crazy SkyMiles rates is to not retreat, to stay with these other programs and try and book Delta in other ways. But yeah, if you're looking for just the simplest way possible, it's just earn your SkyMiles, burn your SkyMiles, and then you don't have to think about it at all. But you do have to live with the fact that you might not be getting the best deal all the time.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, there really is no wrong answer. We could sit here and judge somebody for saying, oh, I'm just only earning SkyMiles. And that defeats the purpose. That doesn't help anyone. If you tell somebody who is, has 200,000 SkyMiles and is planning a trip, oh, well, you're doing it wrong. It's like, that doesn't help that person.
Yeah.
You just got to say, oh, okay, well, here's what you should think about for the next trip. That's the best thing that you can do.
And maybe it's not just, think a little broader, my friend, especially if you stay at a hotel on your trips, if it's not a business. Maybe you put all of your eggs in one basket for flight, but then stick another flag down on a hotel company. And then that's what I did. I basically just use, I do my Amex and I do my Delta card. And I stuck my flag in Marriott Bonvoy. Now, you kind of have the same problem with Marriott as you do with Delta, compared to, like, say, Hyatt. You don't get as much out of it, but they have more properties. Again, we could debate this all day long, but maybe get 2 cards. And that, one to help with your flight. And then if you require hotel, do another one that transfers easily to a hotel property or a hotel family that you like.
Yeah, that's all great advice. I hope we were able to help you out a little bit, Alex. If you want us to answer your question, email us at podcast@thriftytraveler.com, and your question might be featured in next week's show. All right, we're almost done here. I'm going to put you two on the spot.
Oh, boy.
Question. Okay. This is a bit of a retread, actually. Kyle hit me with this one, and I just loved it so much, and I need to send it right back to you guys. What is your bougiest travel habit or take? What's something that you do during your travels that would make you seem out of touch? Mine, for people who didn't listen to the show a few weeks ago, is that especially when I land in a very foreign place that's very far away, I like to have someone with my name on a card waiting for me, a driver with my name on a card at the airport. That's my bougiest travel take. What are 2 of your ideas?
You go first.
See, I refused to answer this when you punted it back to me last time because I
didn't have
an. Hey, it was my turn to put him on the spot. We follow the rules on this show. I don't know that this is.
You don't seem like a bougie guy.
I'm not, and so that makes this a little bit hard to answer. I mean, my wife and I have kind of an unspoken rule that no matter what kind of trip we go on, we always have one big splurge, and we just kind of build the trip around that. So we are not the type of people to go out and spend $500-600 on a dinner, though, we've traveled to some places where you very easily can do that. But as we started planning the last trip that we went on to go to Istanbul and Cape Town and go out on safari, we knew that we wanted to eat at this special restaurant whose name is escaping me right now. And La Colombe, that's what it is. My friend Mallory would have killed me had I not remembered this. We knew that we wanted to go there, that was going to be a signature piece of this trip. And it was like, all right, that's our splurge. We're gonna spend good money on this because it's a special experience, and that's our splurge. And everything else, we make sure we're watching our budget and using points however we can. But that was our splurge. So there's always one of those on every trip that we take together.
That's a good one, Jason.
The broad one is Delta One to Hawaii. Like that's I'm 50. I don't, and I'm 6'2". So I'm not going to do comfort too. And I hate. I'm like, I joke about it, but I don't like to seem that way because, again, I didn't have disposable income until I was almost 40. But I do like my Delta One to Hawaii. My bougie, this is the bougiest, and it's under the Disney category, is I will occasionally do a VIP tour at Disney because I don't like to wait in line. And at Disney, so I will budget in a VIP tour where you don't wait. That's real bouge. Like that's as bouge. And I took the show staff a couple months ago and they were like, wow, you get to walk past all these people? And I said, you sure do. And just enjoy it and have fun. And
don't expect this ever again.
Yeah, you won't get this. Yeah. But that's bougerific under Disney. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing. And Jason, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was really fun. We had a great time. Thank you all for listening to the Thrifty Traveler Podcast. If you could rate us 5 stars on your platform of choice, we would really appreciate it. Like and subscribe to the show on YouTube where you can watch us every week, and send this episode to somebody you know who needs a vacation or needs to get to know Jason a little better. If you have feedback for us, send me a note, podcast@thriftytraveler.com. We'd love to hear from you there. Kyle, tell us about the Thrifty Traveler Podcast team.
Yeah, this episode was produced by our co-founder, Nick Cerati, and your favorite host who needs DHS to drop the liquids limit so he can stop overpaying for sunscreen, Gunnar Olsen. It was edited by David Strutt. Our theme music is by Benjamin Tissot. See you guys next time.
See ya.